Hey all, this is Zach, your Lumix creator. How fast can you see? Not how fast you can turn your head or how fast you can roll an eyeball, but what is the maximum speed an object can move before it becomes invisible to you? Now, our human eyes are not very good when it comes to capturing fast-moving objects. However, the camera can do it pretty well. Now, modern consumer camera like the GH5 right here has the capability of capturing an image of a fast-moving object up to 8,000 of a second. But you may also notice, when shooting in very high shutter speed, the photos will tend to look darker. The fundamental law here is that the faster the shutter speed, the darker the image will become. Because shutter acts like a door, and the amount of light entering the camera will determine by the amount of time the door left open. The longer the door open, the more light will come into the picture, therefore a brighter image, vice versa. So in order to manipulate the exposure, you will have to tweak other settings in the camera if you are capturing in extreme high shutter speed. It's not a question that consumer cameras like this can capture super fast moving objects nowadays. A split-second image of water splashing, people running, or even a bullet flying past. But how slow can you see? Well, if I can shoot a supersonic bullet, I'm pretty sure I can capture slow-moving objects, right? But how slow is slow? A slow-walking man? A snail moving? How about the trail of the movement of a distant star? Star trail is a common example for showing slow shutter speed image. The opposite of high-speed photography, also known as the long exposure photography. In this case, the shutter will still open and close, but the gap it leaves open is significantly longer than usual. Most cameras come equipped with a standard 30-second exposure time, that is leaving the shutter open for 30 seconds, and the camera will capture any light within the time frame. That's why long exposure photography are often done with a tripod to control the stability, so it will only show things that are moving slow, but not the movement of the camera itself. Take a look at this light painting image. The person is moving the light source to paint something. The entire trail of the movement of the light will be captured within a specific long exposure time together with everything they are moving. That is why you can see the human is blurry, but the ground remains clear, simply because the person has motion, but not the ground. Therefore, this blurry effect is also known as motion blur. Motion blur is sometimes an artistic choice in time-lapse photography, capturing a series of photos with movements of the objects, and when playback in normal video speed, it will appear the objects are moving extremely fast to indicate the time passed. Yes, now you can shoot in either fast, normal, and slow shutter speed when you take a picture, but how about video? What exactly is happening to the shutter when you are taking a video? There is a rule of thumb here. Your shutter speed when recording a video should be double of the frame rate of you capturing. For instance, if you are capturing in 30 frames per second, your shutter speed should be about 160. This is to avoid digital artifacts caused by the synchronization failure of the shutter speed and the frame rate. But if you're looking at some higher-end camera or some camera that has more complete build for videography like the GH5 and the GH5 Mark II I have here, you may see something called the shutter angle, where shutter is no longer present in time but rather in degree. In short, the higher the shutter angle, the brighter the video, vice versa. Now, despite similarity with shutter speed, the fundamental concept of shutter angles are very different. You can visualize the shutter angle as a metal plate in front of your camera sensor. And this plate has an opening. There is where the light can go through. Now imagine the plate spin fast. When spin fast enough, giving it a short exposure time every time it passes by in front of the sensor. This happens for each frame of the video. The larger the opening, the more lights can go through, therefore a brighter image. Of course, modern cameras don't really have a spinning plate inside them, but it's either mimicked by the processor of the camera to replicate the exposure level. Camera like the GH5, which allows you to shoot at shutter angles, give you much precise control on the exposure. For instance, Shooting in 180 degree will always mean that you will be shooting at a shutter speed of 2 times of the frame rate because 180 degree is obviously half of the 360 degree. No matter what your frame rates are, if you're shooting a 180 degree shutter angle, it will always mean your shutter speed is twice of your frame rate. For instance, a 240 FPS will give you 418 of a second. If you're shooting in 100 FPS, you will get 200 of a second shutter speed. So it becomes extremely convenient and way more precise when you can access the shutter angle. If you are just starting out in videography, it's good that you can look into the capability of its shutter before you make a camera purchase. I hope you have learned something today about shutter. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below. Until next time, I'll see you again.